Good afternoon, everyone. I'm David Miller, one of the lead underwriters in our health and care practice. It's my pleasure to welcome you today to the last in our series of Travellers Talks for this year, and it's on the subject of allergen risk management. I have to say, I've learned a lot about food allergens myself since meeting my wife. She suffers from celiac disease, which restricts her diet. But what I know is pale in comparison to the knowledge of my colleague Naomi, who's going to be presenting today's webinar. So I hope you enjoy the presentation and learn some practical steps for managing sort of food risk allergens. And there should be an opportunity at the end for questions. But for now, in fact, I'll just plug that we will have more Travellers Talks coming in 2025. But for now, I'll pass over to Naomi. So over to you, Naomi.
Great, thank you. So everyone to our webinar on allergen risk management. And to introduce myself, I'm Naomi Bailey. I joined Travellers back in March as a senior risk control consultant. I predominantly work with our public sector customers, but I do work with a range of other customers as well. Previously worked in the public sector. I was risk and insurance officer at Portsmouth City Council and the City of London Corporation. And most recently, I've been working as risk and insurance manager at Derbyshire County Council. I've also worked at Zurich Municipal as public services segment manager and as senior liability risk consultant. And I would say that my strengths lie in seeing how risk management links with claims defensibility. And I'm also allergic to everything, or am I? So we're going to do a quick poll this afternoon. Does anybody on the webinar today have an allergy? Your options are yes, no, or actually you might not be sure if you do have an allergy or not. So I'll just give a little bit of time to do the poll. Okay, the numbers are moving. We've got a couple of not sures. Okay, and I think, yes, everybody has participated now. So 50% of people do have an allergy, 42% don't have an allergy, and 8% of people, they're not sure if they do or they don't. Keep that figure in mind, that 50% that do have an allergy, because that might be relevant later on. Okay, so this is our agenda for this afternoon. I'm going to be talking about allergy. I'll then be discussing the 14 allergens, and I'll talk to you about what it's like to have an allergic reaction. I'll then move on to telling Natasha's story before speaking about the law relating to allergy information and allergen risk management. But before I begin talking about allergy, I do need to show this important note. And then we'll find out what you already know about allergy with a quick fact or fiction quiz. So how this is going to work, I'm going to read out a statement, and what I'd like you to do is say if it is fact or if it's fiction. So our first statement, nuts are banned in schools and workplaces. Is that fact or is that fiction? Oh, it's moving significantly. I think we've still got a couple of people to go. Okay, I think we've still got some people left to participate, but it looks like the majority there are going for fiction. And that is indeed correct. Banning nuts is not recommended, and I'll talk more about why that is later on. Okay, our next statement. People with a dairy allergy have to eat a gluten-free diet. Is that fact or is that fiction? Oh, 100% so far saying fiction, although not everybody's responded yet. Okay, we're nearly there. Yeah, we are unanimous. in saying that is fiction, and that is, of course, that is correct. People with a cereal allergy or celiac disease need to eat a gluten-free diet. Some people with a dairy allergy may also be allergic to or intolerant to gluten, but the two shouldn't be confused. As a dairy allergy sufferer, I'm always getting offered gluten-free food, but lots of gluten-free food contains other additives, so it's not always an appropriate option. Okay, number 3. A person's allergies can change. Is that fact or is that fiction? No, we're not unanimous on this one. Okay, so 92% of us said that that is fact, 8% said that's fiction. It is a fact. So a person can grow out of allergies, they can grow into allergies. Throughout my life, I've gained allergies, lost allergies, and then gained others. So it is an ever-changing thing. About this one then, vegan food is suitable for people with allergies. Is that fact or is that fiction? And I've just closed down that poll. That was silly. I got a bit trigger happy with my mouse button. Don't know if anybody else can see the results there.
It appears that 40% of folks think that is fact, and about 60% of folks think that is fiction.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Okay, so we really have split the audience on this one. Thank you. So that one is fiction. Some vegan food may be suitable for allergy sufferers, but it's not always the case, and I'll explain why that is in more detail later. Homemade cakes must have full allergen labelling. Is that fact or is that fiction? I'm not going to press anything this time. Okay, looks like we've still got a couple of people left to participate. Seems a couple of you aren't quite sure. Okay, but majority there are saying fiction, and that is correct. It's fiction. So if you are making cakes, say for a community event or to bring into the workplace, you don't legally have to provide allergen information unless you are a registered food business operator. And we'll talk about the law later. I always do provide allergen information as I think it's helpful for allergy sufferers to know whether or not they can join in or if they need to avoid them. But if you are going to provide information, do make sure that that information is correct. And the last of our statements then. Hormones, sleep, and exercise can all affect how allergic someone is. Is that fact or is that fiction? Oh, I thought we were going to be unanimous on this one, but we're not. Well, this one is quite close as well. Okay, so about 70% of you think that this one is fact, 30% fiction. So this one is a fact. Hormones, sleep, and exercise all have an impact on how the immune system functions. And as we'll find out in a moment, that's relevant to the impact and severity of allergies. So thank you for taking part in the poll. Thanks to Michelle for running that poll for us. Okay, so now I know, what you already know about allergy. We're now going to talk about allergy itself. So what is an allergy? Well, an allergy is the immune system's response to substances that are normally harmless to the body. In most people, these substances don't cause any problems, but in someone with an allergy, body will think that it's under attack and will respond to that attack with an allergic reaction. Sometimes these reactions are minor, such as itchy or blotchy skin or a runny nose, but in serious cases it can cause anaphylaxis, which can be fatal. Some of the most common allergies are to pollen from trees and grass, from dust mites, food, mold, Animals like cats and dogs, insects such as bees and wasps, medicines like penicillin and aspirin, household products such as detergents, and beauty products like hair dyes. People with intolerances might feel bloated or suffer migraines when they eat things like wheat, caffeine, or chocolate. Now, allergies first started to emerge in the 1970s with a surge in asthma and hay fever. The UK now has the third highest number of people with allergies in the world, and it's estimated that around 44% of adults in the UK suffer from at least one allergy. Now, interestingly, in our poll today, 50% of people said they suffer from an allergy, and I think there was a small number that weren't quite sure if they do or they don't. So that number is a bit higher than the 44%. 2 million people in the UK have been diagnosed with a food allergy, and this number is rising by 5% each year. In 2022, allergy was the most reported chronic health condition in the UK, and it's costing the NHS around £900 million every year. Now, as I said just now, allergies first started in the 70s with that surge in asthma and hay fever, and that was considered to be the first wave of allergies. And we're now experiencing a second wave of allergic disease with this increase in the number of people like me with life-threatening allergies. So why is this relevant to you in the care and healthcare sector? Well, the first wave of allergy was 50 years ago, and as the number of people with allergies increases, so does the age of those people. Add that to a population that's living longer, and you'll see more people coming into care that have allergies. You may also be responsible for care of younger people, and this is a generation that's increasingly becoming more allergic. So again, you're likely to encounter more service users with allergies. So what's it like to live with allergies? Well, it's embarrassing, always having to ask for information. Some people think you're being fussy or you're seeking attention. It's expensive. It's not just the NHS picking up the bills. People with a food allergy spend 14% more on their food bills than people without allergies. And they spend over £15 a month on medical costs. For example, a litre of oat milk costs you more than 2 litres of cow milk. And in most coffee shops, you're charged extra if you want to have non-dairy milk. These people also lose nearly 4 working days a year to their condition, and they would be willing to pay over £1,000 a year to remove their allergies altogether. It's inconvenient, always having to check the back of packets or research restaurant menus before you can go anywhere. It's uncertain. Sometimes you don't know if you're going to be able to eat anything, which can lead to overeating, just to make sure that you don't go hungry. It's not inclusive. Allergy sufferers can be excluded from things like parties and work events if they can't have anything on the menu or eat the cakes that you brought in. It's boring. Sometimes there's only one option on a menu or when you go into a shop. So being able to choose something that you fancy or actually that you even like is often out of the question. And it's hungry. Sometimes there's nothing on the menu or in the shop, and you find yourself traipsing round and round and round, just trying to find something to eat. Now, although there are many causes of allergies, for this session I am going to focus on food allergies. The Food Standards Agency, or FSA, sometimes uses the term people with food hypersensitivity. It's a bit of a mouthful, but that's what they tend to term people with allergies or intolerances as. So you might hear me reference this within the presentation. Food safety legislation specifies that there are 14 allergens that food businesses have to tell customers about. People might have other allergies. For example, one of my friends is allergic to banana, but these don't have to be declared by law. So I'm going to ask you now, can you name the 14 allergens? Perhaps have a go at writing them down wherever you're watching this webinar from. See if you can name them, and I'll give you a hint. They are in alphabetical order. Okay, so the first one is celery. We have cereals containing gluten, such as barley and oats. Crustaceans, such as prawn and crab. Egg. Fish. Lupin. This is usually found in, it's a flour. Milk. Mollusks like mussels and oysters. Mustard, and I'll talk about mustard in a moment. Peanuts. Again, I'll talk about peanuts later as well. Sesame. Soybeans. Sulfur dioxide and sulfites. So this is if it's in a concentration of more than 10 parts per million. And you're likely to see this on the back of wine bottles, beer, ciders. In some dried fruits, like dried apricots, you might see that they contain sulfites. And also in some meat products and things like that, like sausages and cured meats and things might contain sulfites as well. And tree nuts. Now, this is different to peanuts. Tree nuts are our Brazil nuts, cashews, hazelnuts, walnuts, pecans, pistachios, macadamias, etc. I've realised that almonds aren't on there. Almonds should be on that list as well. So have you ever wondered what it's like to have an allergic reaction? So I'm allergic to dairy, eggs, unless they've been baked in something like a cake or in pancakes. All nuts, so peanuts and tree nuts, and some fish and crustaceans. I had my first allergic reaction as a baby while I was in hospital, and I've had many more since. So it all begins with a funny taste in my mouth. I can't describe the taste, but I know that it's the start of an allergic reaction. Next, I'll get lumps under my skin, sort of in the hairline around the back of my neck. Sometimes they spread across my body. Next, my nose will sort of swell up and start to run. I'll get very sneezy. My nose, lips, the inside of my mouth, my throat will all swell. The swelling can then move up to my eyes and they become puffy. If it's really bad, the swelling might then reach my forehead. My skin might be itchy all over and my asthma might also trigger. A new symptom, if that wasn't bad enough, I've recently had is that it can also make my stomach cramp, make me really dizzy to the point of nearly passing out and make me vomit. So to treat the reaction, I take antihistamines and I drink lots of water to flush my body through. I carry 2 EpiPens, and last year I used one for the first time. It was a strange experience. It made me really hot to begin with, and my heart was absolutely racing in my chest. I then got extremely cold and really very shivery, and I just couldn't get warm. The pounding heart and the shivery cold, they lasted a good couple of hours, and I didn't feel right for nearly a week after that reaction. And once you use an EpiPen or some kind of auto-injector, there are other ones out there, you have to go to hospital. So I was taken to A&E by ambulance and I was monitored until the doctors were happy that I could go home a couple of hours later. So the day after an allergic reaction, my throat will be really sore from all that swelling. I'll be really tired, completely wiped out. My face might still be puffy, my skin might be blotchy, and my stomach is usually bloated from all of that water. Now, here are some photographs, and the first one was taken a couple of hours after experiencing the start of an allergic reaction. And I'd eaten a kebab and chips on the way home from a music festival. It was meat, salad, potato, and bread. No dressings, no cheese. There should have been nothing in that I was allergic to. On reflection, I suspect they probably used nut oil in their fryers, but that wasn't communicated to me, and neither did I think to ask. The second photo was taken the morning after the allergic reaction. In the first photo, I was afraid to go to sleep in case I stopped breathing. In the second, I was exhausted from the attack on my body. As you can see, my face is blotchy. The skin under my eyes is bruised from all that swelling. So that was my story. This is Natasha's story. On the 17th of July 2016, Natasha Ednan Laperouse, aged 15, bought a baguette from Pret-a-Manger in Heathrow Airport just before boarding a plane to Nice. There was no specific allergen information on the packaging, leading Natasha to believe that this was an allergen-free baguette. Unbeknown to Natasha, the baguette dough contained hidden sesame, an ingredient she was severely allergic to. Once on board the flight, she suffered an anaphylactic reaction to that sesame, and she died later that day. Pret-a-Manger had legally done nothing wrong. There was no requirement to name the allergens in that baguette. The coroner stated, "In my opinion, there is a risk that could occur unless action is taken." So at the time of Natasha's death, all food business operators had to declare the presence of the 14 major allergens that we talked about earlier. How they had to do that depended on the type of food business, and it still does today. So first of all, we've got the non-pre-packed or the loose food sector. And this includes meals served in restaurants, freshly made burgers that you would buy from a drive-through, or food that you buy from a deli counter, such as freshly sliced meat or cheese. It also includes buffets. And for these types of foods, the food business operator has to give allergy information verbally or in writing. And this could be a sign telling the customer to speak to a member of staff, or an allergy menu or matrix. In the case of buffets, each food item must be separately labelled. Now, I was recently on holiday in Menorca, and the hotel made it really easy to understand what allergens were present in the buffet. Each food item had a label saying what the food was, and each allergen was identified on the label using an icon. The allergens were immediately clear, and because they were in a picture form, it didn't matter what language you spoke, you could still understand it. Pre-packed food for direct sale, PPDS food. This includes sandwiches that have been made and packed on site and sold from the same premises, like the baguette that Natasha bought, or other pre-packed foods, for example, salads or foods from an in-store bakery, like a bag of donuts. Allergen information at the time of Natasha's death had to be given verbally or in writing. And again, this could be a sign telling the customer to speak to a member of staff. Pre-packed food made off-site is food that's been pre-packed in a different location, such as a bar of chocolate, a packet of crisps, or a ready meal. And for these types of food, they have to have the full labelling, which states the name of the food, the full ingredients list, and any allergens that are present have to be emphasised. And you can see there I've emphasised it in bold. That's often how they will do it. Distance selling is food purchased over the phone or online. So that's your takeaways, your Uber Eats, Deliveroo, etc. Allergen information must be provided before the purchase is complete, and that can be in writing or verbally. It must then be provided when food is delivered, again, in writing or verbally. It must also be available in a written form between the customer placing the order and delivery of the item, and the items must be labelled clearly. Now, in my experience of ordering takeaways, I've never been provided with information upon delivery. I've never received any labelled food, and it's very rare to get allergen information in a written form at all. Now, on the 1st of October 2021, Natasha's law came into force. And from this date, foods that are pre-packed for direct sale, like that baguette that she purchased, must now have a label containing the name of the food, The full ingredients list, including the allergens, and those allergens must be emphasised every time they appear on the list. And you'll note that that's the same requirements as for pre-packed food that's made off-site. And this change only applies to food that is pre-packed for direct sale, and there are no changes to the law on loose foods, pre-packed food made off-site, or distance selling. Following on from Natasha's law coming into force, there have been some other updates, and there's some further news that I wanted to talk to you about. So the Food Standards Agency, I think it was last year, carried out a consultation into may contain labelling. So this is where there might be a chance of cross-contamination. It's also known as precautionary allergen labelling, and it's currently voluntary, and practices vary significantly. From the results of the consultation, they've been working on when precautionary labels should be used, how they should be applied, and the format that they should be presented in. And leading on from this, they're also looking into labelling on vegan foods, which I will speak about in a moment. Owen's Law is a campaign which has arisen out of, unfortunately, another tragic allergy-related death. Owen Carey was celebrating his 18th birthday at Byron Burger Restaurant. Owen was highly allergic to dairy, and having explained to the server about his allergy and having no other information on the menu to suggest the burger was unsafe, he ordered a plain grilled chicken burger. Excuse me. Now, unbeknown to Owen, the chicken in that burger was marinated in buttermilk, causing Owen to suffer anaphylactic shock, and he died later that day. Owen's family is campaigning for a change in the law to require food businesses that sell loose foods, such as restaurants. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice. I'm just going to go into mute for a second. Apologies for that. I've been delivering training for the last 2 days and obviously speaking far too much. So going back to Owen's story, so the chicken that Owen ordered was marinated in buttermilk, and that caused him to suffer anaphylactic shock, and Owen died later that day. Now, his family is campaigning for a change in the law to require food businesses that sell loose foods, such as restaurants and takeaways, to state the 14 major allergens in writing and also at the point of ordering without the customer having to ask, and also for a breakdown of each component of the dish being listed in a matrix, which would then eliminate the risk of the server not understanding the allergy or not taking it seriously. The FSA has just recently announced a consultation into best practice for written allergen information for food businesses in the non-pre-packed sector. And stakeholders are being asked to respond by the 27th of this month. And I've included a link to the consultation there. So if you have an allergy, if you look after somebody with an allergy, if you're involved in food, this is a really good consultation to take part in. The Owen's Law campaign is also calling for better recording of allergic reactions to facilitate research into the causes of allergies and possible cures. In January, the FSA wrote to the government asking for support for Owen's Law. Natasha's parents, Tanya and Nadim, are also campaigning for an allergy SAR in the government to be appointed to champion people living with allergies. They also sent out an allergy awareness survey to their subscribers earlier this year to help raise awareness of allergies. This year's Allergy Awareness Week raised awareness about why allergies are too big to ignore. This is part of their wider campaign, It's Time to Take Allergies Seriously. As you heard earlier, over 2 million people in the UK are impacted by allergies. and food allergies can turn a basic human need into a potentially life-threatening situation. As some of the stories that you'll hear highlight today, food should be an enjoyable experience, and it is time to take allergies seriously. Now, on the 20th of September this year, the FSA issued an urgent allergy advice regarding the cross-contamination of peanut in certain mustard products, including mustard flour and mustard powder. The FSA has identified the manufacturer involved, and they're working on a major product recall. A list of products currently known to have been affected has been issued, and it's updated by the FSA as and when new affected products are identified. In addition to the list of known products, the guidance from the FSA is for people with a peanut allergy to avoid all products that contain or may contain mustard, mustard seeds, mustard powder, or mustard flour until further notice. So this includes whole grain mustard, mustard used as a condiment or as a garnish, spice mixes that contain mustard, fresh, chilled, frozen products containing mustard as an ingredient, and also long shelf life products containing mustard as an ingredient. Because of the complications of this incident, it could continue for some time. Now, mustard is often used as an ingredient within spice powders, sauces, and marinades, and it's therefore found in many parts of the food supply chain. At least one food product is known to have been exported to Ireland, and the Food Safety Authority of Ireland has produced its own guidance. Now, your organisation may be involved in catering or supplying food or looking after vulnerable people with allergies, and there are some practical steps that you can take to help to keep peanut allergy sufferers safe and informed. So check if any of your products or ingredients are listed on the FSA's recall notices, and remove any products that may contain contaminated mustard ingredients. And as I said, the list is on their website. If a product contains mustard, it should be labelled in bold, because mustard, as we found out earlier, is one of the 14 allergens that must legally be declared to consumers. You should ensure that your allergen information is up to date so that you can inform consumers if a product contains or may contain mustard. Some food business operators have proactively issued their own statement regarding the presence of mustard and advised customers which products to avoid. So you need to consider how you're going to inform your consumers. For example, a notice clearly displayed in the premises, or a statement on your website or your social media, or all of them. Ensure that your staff and volunteers have received suitable training about allergens, about the law, and how to keep people with allergies safe, and that they're aware of the current danger to peanut allergy sufferers, and they know which products might be affected. I've been out and about quite a lot. I travel for work quite a lot. I'm really struggling to eat at the moment when I'm out and about, and the number of servers that haven't heard about this is worrying. Some organisations are really on top of it, but others hadn't even heard about it until I mentioned it. So do make sure that you are, keeping your staff up to date as well. If you're responsible for helping service users with eating out or ordering takeaways, for example, check with the food business operator for the presence of mustard. Many restaurants now publish an online allergen matrix, but they're not always correct or the most up to date, so it's always better to ask. Familiarise yourself with the symptoms of an allergic reaction and anaphylaxis, and what to do if someone in your care has an allergic reaction. And for further information about allergies and how to support people with allergies, Allergy UK and Anaphylaxis UK have a good range of resources. And you can also sign up to allergy alerts for up-to-date information about this incident and about others as well. And they can both be found, you can sign up on the Food Standards Agency's website and the Irish Food Standards Agency as well. Sorry, Food Safety Authority. So as someone with both a milk and an egg allergy, vegan food has provided me with more choice than ever before. And the quality and the taste of dairy and egg-free products has massively improved in recent years. Dairy-free cheese now behaves like real cheese instead of congealing into a greasy plastic lump. I have a whole range of milks to choose from, not just soya milk. And I can have desserts, which is great for my taste buds and less great for my waistline. But many people still don't fully understand the difference between being vegan and having an allergy. So, veganism is a dietary or a lifestyle choice. Allergy is not a choice. Vegans choose not to eat foods containing meat, fish, and other animal products, and that includes milk, egg, honey, and some fortified cereals for ethical or for climate-based reasons. There's currently no legal definition of vegan or plant-based, which makes it very difficult for food standards to be applied and to be monitored. Many allergy sufferers believe vegan foods to be safe because they shouldn't contain milk or egg. However, various scientific studies have found traces of dairy in the vegan products that they tested. In December of 2017, Celia Marsh died from an allergic reaction after eating a vegan wrap from Pret a Manger, which she believed to be safe. The coconut yogurt supplied to Pret a Manger contained traces of milk, causing Celia to go into anaphylactic shock, and she died on the street. I mentioned on previous slides that the FSA is looking into vegan labelling as part of their wider May Contain project. The lack of a legal definition is causing confusion over vegan labelling, as legally these products don't need to have a May Contain statement. But it is hoped that the FSA's project will bring the clarity that's needed if mandatory labelling becomes the law. Many vegan products are nut-based, which is dangerous for people with nut allergies. Almond and cashew are popular alternatives to cream. So just because a product is vegan, it doesn't make it allergy friendly. And offering vegan options is great, and it can give people with allergies more choice, but do consider what other allergens might be present, whether your vegan options really are free from allergens, and don't assume that someone with allergies wants to eat a vegan meal. You know, I like vegetables, but I also like to eat meat, and I like to have the option of a meat dish. So we're now moving on to allergen risk management. So when food is provided by institutions such as care homes or day services, it's their responsibility to protect the individuals in their care. For these people to be safe, pre-existing food allergies or intolerances should be made known, and processes must be in place to ensure that they can have safe food options. And this is particularly important if the service user is unable to or needs help to make food choices for themselves. Good risk management begins with your food and drink strategy. Regulation 14 of the Health and Social Care Act, Regulations of 2014, require health and care organisations to meet the nutritional and hydration needs of their service users, where there is an overnight stay, such as for a care home, or where food and drink is provided as part of the service, such as at a day centre. Your strategy should consider how you will approach your initial assessment of their needs and also how you'll continue to review those needs. As a minimum, your strategy needs to follow nationally recognised guidance to identify allergies and intolerances and support their ongoing good health. The individual's dietary needs will be outlined in their care plan, and there must be a process to ensure that the dietary needs on the care record are communicated to and also understood by those serving food or involved in that person's care. There'll also be some individuals that won't have a care plan, such as visitors or employees. So your risk assessments will need to cover all people who might be harmed. And it can be good practice to ask if people have an allergy. It's not currently a legal requirement to do this, but it is good risk management. And as we know, health and safety isn't just about complying with the law. Staff that are handling food and everyone involved in the person's care should receive appropriate training on the rules surrounding allergens and also the organisation's policy on food management. Now, what's appropriate in terms of training will depend on the member of staff's role in the organisation. So why is it important that everyone has some understanding of allergen management? Well, there might be day trips or excursions. You might be ordering takeaway, involved in plating up, for example. Now, I had an incident last year, a couple of years ago. The picture that I showed you on one of the very first slides, there was me with a lovely big slice of chocolate cake with some ice cream. Now, that chocolate cake was described as vegan. And I checked with the kitchen that it didn't contain nuts because being a vegan product, it shouldn't have dairy, shouldn't have eggs, shouldn't have nuts. But it could have nuts, sorry. So the kitchen confirmed it was suitable for me. It didn't contain dairy or eggs or nuts. So I ordered this cake. It came out. I got most of the way through it and started to feel like I was having an allergic reaction. Spoke to the restaurant, and it transpired that as that cake was being plated up, the person that was plating it decided that it didn't look like it was enough. I mean, it was massive, but she thought, it's not enough. So she added a scoop of ice cream. Now, she hadn't been communicated to about my allergy, and she wasn't aware that a vegan cake shouldn't have dairy ice cream, and she put a dairy ice cream scoop on my plate, which I then ate and was allergic to. Had she had the appropriate training and understanding of allergies, then she wouldn't have plated up my plate with that dairy ice cream. Obviously, I did have an allergic reaction, but I lived to tell the tale. Some people are not so lucky. On the 8th of February 2023, Hannah Jacobs, aged just 13, died from a severe dairy allergy after being served what she believed was a non-dairy hot chocolate from Costa Coffee. She'd actually been given cow's milk. The coroner's conclusion was that allergy training in that organisation was not taken seriously enough and was seen as simply a tick box exercise, which highlights the importance of everybody having the appropriate level of training. You need to be keeping up to date with allergy guidance and allergy information, thinking back to the peanut issue, and think about all of those elements of your supply chain. You need to make sure that where you are providing written information, it's accurate and it's up to date. I once visited a restaurant where the allergy matrix online and the one that they gave me in the restaurant both contained conflicting information, despite them both having the same date on them. There should be a process in place to monitor and review the performance of your caterers, if you have external caterers, and to ensure that they're managing allergens in the correct way and that they are competent. If deficiencies are found, there should be a contractual point of escalation and allowance in the contract for amendments or termination of the contract if performance is not up to scratch. Now, when it comes to defending claims, record keeping is really important. And the reason for this is that most people have 3 years from the date of the incident to bring a claim, and that's 3 years from their 18th birthday for young people, or in cases where a person lacks mental capacity, it's 3 years from when they gain capacity. It's really important to be able to retrieve documents. And sometimes this is a very long time down the line that you'll need to be able to retrieve those documents. Likewise, document control is really important, making sure that you've got the right versions and that a new version is saved every time that you reassess, your risks, every time you revise your processes, your policies, your procedures, to make sure that you're not overwriting previous versions. You should be investigating allergic reactions as you would any other incident, ensuring you have the right people involved in the investigation and that you seek to identify the underlying and the root causes as well as the immediate cause. Ensure that your investigation records are available for your claims handlers to review. And ensure that you have fully documented procedures. I discussed earlier about those, so you can evidence that you are managing allergen risk. Allergen risk management isn't just about complying with the law, it's about providing a good experience to your service users. And the CQC guidance tells us that this should include a variety of nutritious, appetizing food. So, what can you do to make that experience as good as possible? Well, you can be empathetic. People with food hypersensitivity are often embarrassed or think that other people think they're being awkward or picky, so show empathy. They're not being picky. And as we've discussed, anaphylaxis can be a life-threatening condition. So let them know you understand and reassure them that they're not being awkward. My friends and family talk about foods being Naomi friendly, and that puts me at ease. And you can find similar ways to put your service users at ease. If you're in control of choosing menus, try to design out allergens. The hierarchy of risk control, which we know from the health and safety world, says that elimination is the most effective control. So try to eliminate allergens where possible. Avoid adding allergens by removing others. Ben & Jerry's did this with their vegan ice cream. They removed dairy, but they replaced it with almond milk. So by making it suitable for dairy allergy sufferers, they've now excluded nut allergy sufferers. Although they have just released a oat milk one. So Ben & Jerry's is now suitable for me, but not any good for people with oat allergies. Unnecessary allergens is a huge bugbear of mine. There are all sorts of products, including beef-flavoured hula hoops, chorizo sausage, salami, pulled pork, and breaded scampi that include milk where there appears to be no benefit or reason for them to do so. Do the allergens actually add anything to the food? If they don't, eliminate. Choice is important to allergy sufferers. I spent 3 days in Wales one summer, had no choice about what to eat on any of those 3 days, as there was only one thing I could eat on the menu at each of the establishments that I visited. And when you've just spent 7 hours climbing Mount Snowdon, you want food and you want to be able to choose it. Just under 75% of people that responded to the Natasha Allergy Research Foundation survey that I mentioned said that they've been discriminated against because of their allergy. I'm one of those 70 odd percent. In one workplace, I couldn't attend any of the team nights out because the venues they chose couldn't cater to my allergies. Recently, I was asked to pay extra if I wanted to have actual normal bacon on a vegan pancake. And they said, because of my allergies, which didn't make sense. Most of the chain coffee shops, as I mentioned earlier, charge extra for dairy-free milk. This is all discriminating against people with allergies. The last point on my slide summarises the key point for me of Natasha's Law. People with food hypersensitivity need accurate, easy to access information to help them make informed decisions. Now think back to my Menorcan buffet experience. Simple, clear information that anyone could understand because it was in picture form. I also mentioned earlier about asking people if they have allergies. Not only is that good practice, because it helps you to manage the risk, but it's also good practice in terms of helping that person feel at ease and demonstrating that you understand their needs. Food is a basic necessity of life, but it is even better if you can enjoy it. On the last slide, I mentioned the hierarchy of risk controls, so I thought I'd talk through a practical example of how it might be applied to allergen risk management. And as you probably know, the controls at the top are the most effective and the ones at the bottom are the least effective. So let's imagine you're the owner of a burger restaurant. A typical burger might come with a beef patty, a brioche bun, cheese, mayonnaise, relish, and salad. And that includes a whole range of allergens, including milk, cereals, egg, celery, mustard, and soya. The most effective control is elimination, so you design out the allergens. Your basic burger can be a plain beef patty in a plain bun. This immediately removes milk, egg, celery, mustard, and soya. It's not the most exciting burger on the planet, so you could offer a build your own burger service so that people can add the extras they want. And I did that in a pub recently, built an amazing burger, as you can see in the picture on the slide. It was allergy friendly and it gave me options. And remember, we like options. The next control is substitution. Can you offer something different? A gluten-free bun, for example, for those with a cereal allergy. But if you do substitute, be careful that you don't add other allergens like Ben & Jerry's did with their ice cream. Next, we come to engineering controls. So segregation of workstations for preparing allergy-friendly meals. You could also provide labelled sauce on the table so that individuals can then add their own. The next is administrative controls. So think about the information you provide, how it's provided. For something like a burger, it could be useful to break down the allergens of the component parts. If we think back to Owen Carey and the buttermilk in his chicken burger, had those component parts been listed, he would have lived past his 18th birthday. And finally, the least effective control is PPE, not all that relevant for eating. It makes me think, though, of Bubble Boy, the little boy that goes around in the giant plastic bubble to protect him from all the allergens. And while that's amusing, I don't think it would be a practical solution in reality. So elimination in the first place is always going to be the most effective. I get asked this question a lot, so I've put this into the presentation. Is an allergic reaction riddle reportable? The guidance is unhelpfully unclear. As I'm sure we're all aware, if an employee or a non-employee dies as a result of an accident in the workplace, it must be reported. Accidents to third parties must be reported if they result in an injury and that person is taken directly to hospital to receive treatment. But the use of the terms accident and injury casts some doubt on whether an allergic reaction is reportable. And in reality, I think it probably depends on the circumstances. If a service user in a community centre is given a food that they're known to be allergic to, and they're taken to hospital for treatment, then I would suggest it is likely to be reportable. But if, on the other hand, you're holding a summer party and a family member brings in some cakes, and that cake causes an allergic reaction, the HSE might not be quite so interested. But in my opinion, I would always err on the side of caution, and I would rather report it and be told that reporting than not report it and later find out that it should have been. In terms of incident reporting within your organisation, it should be treated in the same way as any other incident. So as I said, the incident report should be completed as soon as possible and the investigation done in the same way as you would any other incident. And that's really important because it allows you to identify the root cause and the underlying causes of that allergic reaction. You can then introduce measures to prevent a reoccurrence through reviewing your risk assessments, your systems, your training, etc. And it also provides evidence in the event of a civil claim and can help you to defend potential claims or settle them quickly if liability is found to attach. Other question I get asked a lot, should we ban nuts? And Anaphylaxis UK doesn't recommend doing this. It doesn't recommend total bans on allergens at all, as they can be very difficult to enforce. As we've heard today, there's a whole range of things that people can be allergic to, and it wouldn't be practical to try to ban every single allergen. It can also create a false sense of security. So instead, they recommend allergen risk awareness. And we're just going to look at a very quick case study. I think we're going to open up the chat for your thoughts. So imagine, you're running a care home, you've got a new resident who's going to be joining you, and this new resident is allergic to dairy and nuts. Now, what might some of the considerations be on this new resident joining you? Okay, I'm aware that we are getting a little short on time. Perhaps this is one to take away and have a think about yourselves, perhaps to reflect on after the webinar. But some of the things that I considered. So thinking about that assessment of needs, what are their needs and how are you going to communicate those? Thinking about the person's medical history, what's the nature of their allergy? Do they have any medication? What is that medication? How do you access it? Where is it kept? Is it in date? How do you make sure it stays in date? Thinking about your risk assessment and your safe systems within your organisation. I mentioned training. Training is really important. Who's providing the food? Is it external caterers? Is it internal caterers? What are your systems for monitoring those caterers? Think about the hierarchy of risk control in your menu design. What about ad hoc or incidental foods? So things that people bring in, perhaps cakes and biscuits, stuff like that. Are you going to ban allergens? Thinking about your user experience. And also, I mentioned record keeping and document management. We've got a slide with some useful resources, which we can share those resources. So that really brings me to the end of the presentation. And this photo on this last slide is an example of a food business operator that got a service bit right. On a holiday in Devon, I fancied a cake. So my partner and I did a bit of Googling. We found a local tea room that mentioned words like vegan and dairy free on their menu. So we called ahead and they reeled off a list of things that I could have. And they asked if I'd like a freshly baked scone. So I said, yes, please. So headed on down there. The scone came out with a little dish of freshly whipped, dairy-free, nut-free, a lovely little note demonstrating an understanding of all of my allergies while complying with the requirement to inform customers of the presence of allergens. And to top it all off, she baked two, so I got to have one for the road. So I was a very happy customer, and I took to social media to tell my tale. So thank you very much for listening to me. I hope that this session has been useful and it's given you an insight not only into the law around allergens, but also how this impacts on the allergy sufferer. Now, I think we were going to open up for Q&A. I did want to just mention that there is an article which sort of captures some of the key points of this training session today. And I think we're going to share the link in the chat for you. And I also wanted to mention that we are running an IOSH Managing Safely course in a few weeks' time, specifically for travellers customers. There are up to 2 places per course, so 2 places available if you would like to join us. It's over 4 days. And if you are interested in finding out more, then please do email us on that email address there, sacademy@travellers.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. That was really interesting. And I'm not sure if we've got any questions, but we're sort of out of time, I guess. So if anyone does have questions, feel free to email us and we'll come back directly on that. But thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.